Hi, it's Gemma. This episode comes with a warning of strong language, honest opinions, and some topics that you might find upsetting. But that's why you love us. We can't help but overshare. Are you ready for some oversharing?
Because oops, we did it again.
Hi, it's Gemma.
And Lauren, welcome back.
To the next episode of
Oops, wait, what's the name of it? Oops, we overshared again. Oh God. Do you know, it's because I want to say oops, I did it again every single time, and I have to like reframe it in my head. I'll get used to it.
Yeah, we will. We will. Early days, early days. Well, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. We are going to be talking all about marriage.
We are.
Specifically with a focal point of why our partners will not propose to us.
It's a long-standing conversation, joke, but also completely not a joke. That me and Jem constantly talk about this because both of us are in situations where we are like, it was the first time we went for a coffee, wasn't it? We spoke about it.
Yes,
you were like, you were at the till buying another coffee, sending me pictures of engagement rings.
Yeah, I was. Send this to him.
Yeah, but it's been that kind of like long-standing thing. So we're both in situations where we feel like our partners could propose any given second, and yet actively choose not to.
But we're both in relationships, aren't we, where we're pretty much married,
yes,
but not married.
But we think this might also be the problem.
Yeah, we've made it too easy for him.
Well, I said this yesterday. Obviously, yesterday I spent the day with my mother-in-law, future mother-in-law, on a tombola at a charity event that she coerced me into doing. And it's like, God, why would he marry me? I am married.
Pretty much. Married without any, I say without the perks, but it's what I was thinking earlier. Like, what actually are the benefits of being married? Like, why do we find it important? This is the thing.
For me, it's two things, really. I think it, regardless of children or not, I think it makes me feel more like, well, the idea of being married, and obviously this is just whether or not I actually would feel like this. I've never been married, I don't know. But the idea of it makes me feel as though I would feel more like a family. I think that's important. And I also think it's a security thing for me. I think of like, I'm not saying obviously marriages fail all the time, go wrong all the time, and so it's not like a security thing really, but it is I think it would be real confirmation for me, even though I know that anyway, that it, like, I don't know, I always doubt whether or not I'm good enough. I think all the time, wow, that got deep quickly. Whereas if he was to be like, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, I want to marry you, blah, 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 I think it would be that like confirmation that he actually does feel like that. I don't know. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think that's the thing, is as much as people can be like, oh, it's just a bit of paper, or it doesn't, like, you know, what's the point? You're already living together, or in my case, have a child as well. But I think, and obviously, as you know, I have been married before in the past, and subsequently divorced. And I must admit that it is a much bigger commitment having a child together, and to some degree buying a house together, because of all the you know, you have to have credit checks together, you're then on each other's credit reports, and it's obviously it's a big commitment you're going into. But there's just something about making that commitment to each other on such a, I don't know, like a deep level sort of thing, and it's like such a public declaration, isn't it, of I am taken, like I'm married. I don't know, there's something about that for me that I agree, it's like a, that I don't know if it's security, or, but there's definitely something there, like a family and a sort of tying it all together.
I think it's confirmation for me as well that is the case, in that, like you say, you've been married before and it hasn't worked out, and yet you still want to do it again. And like, my mum's remarried, I've got friends that are engaged that have been married before. Like, people wouldn't do it again unless it was that. And I think that's where, for all the marriages' faults potentially of the previous time, like, there must have been something about it that felt amazing at the time, of this is us kind of together as one. I don't know. I don't know. I think that's where I'm like, I don't know. I think as well, it's awkward for me. I mean, you know this. I'm in a weird situation with me having a bit of a weird like identity crisis as well with my last name anyway. I'm not particularly happy with my last name. And then also on top of that, like if we take my example with Steve, he's only got a brother. So in his entire family have all got his last name. And so when we're in like a situation with the family, I'm the only person that hasn't. And I think I notice it more because of that. Yeah. And I think I wouldn't necessarily notice it if he had like a sister that was remarried that had like a different name, and do you know what I mean, all these different people, whereas it's like you have, I don't know, 10 people at a table and it's just me. And I think I'm kind of eager when we have children and everything there for it to be a family.
Absolutely. I mean, to be fair with me, my mum remarried, and so I'm the eldest of 3 girls, and my mum and all 3 of my sisters with all different surnames. Yeah. So that's not, I can see what you mean if you're in a sea of X name and you're the odd one out. But I do feel it a lot when we recently registered Elliot for nursery, and then people are like, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Luckin, and I'm like, nope. Yeah. Glancing at Ben like, not am I? No. But that for me, I get quite embarrassed, and I know it's not a stigma thing because, you know,
it's about 50-50 now.
We're past the whole, you know, oh, a child out of wedlock, how very dare you. But it's still, for me, I do feel always that little pang of, it is almost like embarrassment of when someone assumes that I'm married and then I'm having to be like, no. Or when, not that this happens very often, to be fair, but when, and I said saying this to you, I was propositioned in a pub not too long ago, and I was asked, have you got a boyfriend? And that just cringes me out, because I'm like, I'm a grown-ass woman in her 30s. I don't want to be going, I've got a boyfriend. Like, it just makes me feel really, I don't know, like I'm 12 again. Do you feel like that with Steve?
It does. And also it just doesn't feel like enough in like who we actually are. Like in the scenarios that we are, like, you've obviously got Elliot together. We've obviously, I mean, I think it's fairly public knowledge, we've lost a child together. Like, we were gonna have a baby together, and it's like we've lived together for over 2 years. Like it feels like we're so far past the boyfriend thing that's where it just feels a bit weird to me. And I think I don't know if that's just a mental block on my part, though, that I think of it as less than what it.
Well, no, because if you think about it, we could go out, obviously we're not because we have partners, but we could go out tomorrow. Or okay, no, let me rephrase that. When you met Steve and when I met Ben, and you go on a few dates and then you have the chat and you're exclusive and whatever, at that point he's your boyfriend, right? So I'm like, well, if I've been dating someone for a month and they're my boyfriend, you know, he lives in his house, I live in my house, we go on dates, that's my boyfriend. I'll take that. When you're 5 and a bit years in and you've got a house together and a child together and a dog and all a life together, I'm like, exactly that. It's more than that, isn't it? It's more than just a friend that's a boy.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I had a boyfriend when I was 14.
It is though, isn't it? It's a bit like, oh, do you hold hands? Ooh.
Should we be boyfriend and girlfriend now?
Yeah, like send him a little note, tick yes, tick. Maybe that's what we should do. Will you marry me? Tick yes, tick no.
Right, but on that, like, talking about that for a second, because I know we're going to talk about that at some point anyway. For me, the proposing thing coming from me, and I'm not very well, but I went to school with somebody that did it, and it's worked out beautifully. They're married. For me, I look at her with like total admiration of, you're such a like secure person within yourself, because for me, my thing would be, and he would, because he's so laid back, my fear would be, knowing him as well, that he would say yes because it's just so much easier.
Oh, no.
But do you know what I mean? Just if like, oh shit, this is going to be really awkward if I don't. I'm not saying that he wouldn't want to, but that would be in my head for the rest of my life, I think, of that kind of, he just said yeah because I'd put this effort into something, and it would have been really awkward and kind of been the end of the relationship if he'd said no. And
Yeah, but then you would subsequently go on to get married. That's what you got to remember. And it's at
I
that
still think
point.
it would be in my head way after that.
But then, even if, and I mean, I don't know if I've ever told you this. I've been engaged like 4 times. Have I ever told you
Yeah,
that?
no, you have told me, and
Oh, I have told you.
I wasn't happy about it the first time I heard it.
Yeah.
It's like, brilliant. Here she's moaning that no one will propose to her, and she's been engaged so many times.
Literally, I have been engaged so many times, but not to the right person.
True.
This is the thing. But what I was going to say is, I mean, I've said yes to people. I was not about it.
But this is my point. I know if he asks me, he's about it.
I agree. I do agree. But also, I would like to point out that of those proposals, only one made it to the aisle. I mean, I weren't overly keen on that one either, truth be told. But the point is, kissed a lot of frogs, got my prince now. This is the underlying tone of the story. But what I'm getting at is, if you was to ask Steve to marry you and he said yes, saying yes to a proposal is one thing, but actually going through with a wedding, you know. So I wouldn't.
In itself, is it not? Like, you've been through it, whether it's you or them that have called it off. Like, you've done that thing where you've been engaged, potentially told people that you're engaged, potentially gone through all that, and then
I had a wedding. I had a wedding booked, and then I cancelled it.
Was it a nice wedding booked?
The same person I ended up marrying. I mean, I should have known the first time. Yeah.
How does that even happen?
Trust me, I have asked myself this many times. But yeah, I think that, yeah, it is embarrassing to a degree, but also I had another proposal where I went on holiday with him and his family to Florida, and we went to Discovery Cove, and a dolphin swam up with this fender in its mouth that said, "Gemma Louise, will you marry me?" And we got back from Florida like the first week of October. By the end of October, we'd broken up.
Did you know in that very moment that you didn't want to?
Okay, so I mean, it's unlikely that he will ever listen to this, but even if he did, it was like over 10 years ago. Who cares? So basically, my mum told me he was going to propose to me before I went, and I didn't want to go on holiday because I didn't want him to propose to me.
I mean, I don't think it matters if he listens. If you'd ended it by the end of the month anyway, I think he's probably pretty clear that you didn't.
It was like it was such a toxic relationship. As often I think when we look back on relationships, they are. But that's what I mean. I think there's a big difference between if Steve was to say yes just to go along with it, there would already be fundamental flaws in your relationship. Whereas, and sometimes things like a proposal can be done for the wrong reasons. Like
100%.
I think that particular Florida one was because it was like well, we've been together a certain amount of time, other people are doing it, we should do it, sort of thing. Our relationship was not the best beforehand anyway, and we were very young. And then the second time, well, yeah, I mean, first time I got engaged, I was 18. That's something right. But anyway, the one with the marriage that I actually got married, that again was just kind of a thing that you're going through the motions. And it was something that then the other party was a lot more wanting to do it than I was. But I think where you and Steve are concerned, sometimes I think that we have spoke about this at length before. I think we make it a bit like, well, why do they need to propose to us? Why do we need to get married when you're already married, like you said before? And I'm sure if you did propose to him, he would be over the moon, because yes, it means he doesn't have to do it. But also, then the stress is taken away from him, isn't it?
I genuinely think that the reason it hasn't happened at the moment is because, and I think it's the same for you as well with Ben, is that we are married, and not just in the sense of, I was going to say we do this around the house and blah, 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 but you don't. Ben is an angel.
Yeah, okay. I do the washing.
You do the washing. But it almost doesn't, like, in their mind, it doesn't change anything because it's as it would be. And actually, that's quite I have to like turn it sometimes and think about it in that way of like, that's actually just quite a compliment, the fact that the reason, like, I genuinely think a lot of the reason that it hasn't happened up until this point, and actually just even through talking to him about it, like, I think it is that he doesn't want to do it until we can afford like a big wedding and a big party and all of this, because that's what he'd like. I'm less bothered, but he would like all of that. And me going, it's not about the party part of it, it's about the marriage. And he's like, no, but it is just about the party bit, because nothing else is going to change. And actually, in a way, that is kind of like, no, I guess that's nice in a way. Like, it sounds like a weird thing to be like, it should only be about the party, but I also get what he's saying. Like, that is the only part of it that's going to make this any different. So I don't know.
I asked Ben why. And he was like, because he wants to make it special.
See, when I asked Steve, I got a really sarcastic response, if you can remember. Can you remember?
Yeah, go on.
When I was like, why won't you marry me? And he was like, good question. Why won't you? How could you be better? But I think, I don't know. I genuinely think Steve is the kind of person that will wake up one day, go, oh, I think I'm going to propose today. And he'll do it that day. I would be so shocked if he's like got a ring somewhere and he's like waiting for the ideal situation. I honestly think he will just, I don't think he knows today when he's going to propose. I think he will genuinely just kind of wake up one day.
This kind of spontaneity freaks me out.
I mean, it does me too, but in a way it's kind of a good thing, because I don't want this like big thing. It would really freak me out. And if he does it, if he just literally plans it that day, he can't do this big thing.
This is true. If you don't want a big thing, what you can do when you do get married?
We've agreed very small ceremony, very big evening.
Oh, nice.
Because I don't mind it in the evening. It's the attention all on me thing that I don't want. And so keep it small in the ceremony. We don't have that many people that we both see regularly and that are like part of our, not being funny, if he's got like a third cousin that I've never even heard of, like they don't need to come to the day.
Like you're in a circle, didn't you, to the day, and then you'd have your party in the evening.
But then we can go as wide as you want. Like you can invite, I mean, we won't, because there aren't that many. I just hit the microphone. There aren't that many people, and also like not a venue big enough. But if you want to invite 1,000 people to the evening, go ahead. Like honestly, it doesn't bother me, just as long as the day is small.
Yeah, people want to come see Matt Cardle sing. So,
well, there is that. He wants to name the tables at the wedding after species of carp.
Cool.
I mean, it's almost got to the point now where we kind of have to do it, because it's become.
I would like to say that you're sitting here going, oh, I don't think I should propose to him because he might not really want to marry me. And in the next breath going, Steve's already told me he wants a massive wedding and to name our tables after different species of fish.
Yeah, true. He did also be like, oh, we could get married at this beautiful lake. And I was like, yeah, lake would be pretty. And then he started talking about bringing his bivvy, which is like his fishing tent. And I was like, you're not actually fishing at the wedding. Like, now we're not getting married at all.
Night as Mr. and Mrs. in some literal, it's not even a real tent, is it?
No, they're tiny. Oh, it's like one of those little 2 people tent things, like, you know, the really small ones. But
does he have like little bells on the rods?
It's like battery, like it literally, so it's on something and it starts beeping if anything touches the end of the rod.
Wow.
It's very high tech.
So you could be laying there freshly married with the beeping of a fish bite.
I was going to say, and he would stop. Wedding night, he'd be like, there's a fish, everything else doesn't
touch that rod, I need to grab my other rod.
Exactly. He actually would. Oh my god, my door just went. Can you just wait like 2 seconds?
Oh,
Gemma, entertain the people.
I mean, if this isn't live for you, I don't know what is. I'm back. To be honest, I can't remember where we were up to. Oh, we were talking about Matt Cardle at your wedding, you having sex and then getting that interrupted.
Let's talk about you.
And then
let's put the heat on you for a second.
Oh, right. Go on then.
Yeah, let's put the heat on you. So, have you got an idea of what you would want out of a wedding? Or has Ben?
Ben wants the full shebang.
It's interesting, isn't it? But he does, like both of them do. Yeah.
I proposed when I was pregnant that we just legged it to Vegas, got that shit done, and come back. Ben was not about that life. I think what we would probably do is kind of similar to what you were saying, actually. So we would have a like a ceremony during the day, but I would have a later wedding. This was the kind of the compromise we reached. I don't like the idea of a wedding breakfast.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of money, and I just don't see the point of it. I'd rather a later wedding, so get married like I don't know, 5.
Okay.
And then just have the party.
Fair enough.
And just miss that bit, or get married at 4 even, say, but then you just have everyone. You've not got to have day and evening guests. That's the other thing, then it just gets so messy.
But that's where I'm going to keep it like, you're either my best friend or my close family. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no like somebody that I've seen 3 times this year. Do you know what I mean? It's very like,
it is hard, but it is, even when you start doing it, I'll say from experience, it's so difficult, and you always end up pissing somebody off, always.
Yeah, but I really don't care.
Well, I mean, that's good.
I mean, I was a wedding planner, so I've seen a lot of people be pissed off.
Yeah.
And it also just makes me not care. Like, because I've seen so many brides be so like anxious, and
it's horrendous, because as well, it's things like trying to choose. I mean, well, for us now as well, the other thing is it's obviously we have a child. There would be other children that would be present at the wedding. I'm not normally a fan of kids that, like, when I got married before, I didn't have any children at the wedding, and I know that Elliot's going to be, especially if it was like fairly soon, he's not going to want to sit for a bloody 3-course meal and speeches and shit like that. I just feel that I would want it to be as family friendly and as stress-free as could be possible.
Yeah,
that would be my vision, which I know Ben would share that. Ben has said he will propose me by the end of the year.
He has.
Yeah, which you do know this already, but I don't know when, I don't know where.
I'm going to be so pissed off with you when it happens.
I mean, don't, because he's told me this, but
I'm like not even going to be happy for you.
I was like, have you bought a ring? He's like, no. But do you know what ring you're going to get? No.
This is what I mean. They don't plan.
Like, do you want me to pick a ring? No. So I send him rings I send him rings all the time. And then nothing. So I reckon he's told me that, and then he'll forget. And I'll be sitting there like New Year's Eve, like, okay, Gemma, it's got to happen tonight. Tonight is the night. You've waited all year for this. Come on. Nothing. And then I'll be like,
is there anything happening in the year that like you've got something nice you're going to, or anything like that, where you're like, that could be the day he does it?
No, because I have a child.
Well, yeah, but anything at all, even with child?
We're going to Devon in September.
There you go. Check his suitcase before you go. That's what I do when
I'll be packing it.
Oh, there you go. No, there's no chance then. I'm trying to think about me for the end of the year, because I've got like, obviously we're going away the end of this month, and then just me and him. So I mean, I'd be surprised, but it could. Then it's my birthday in November, and then it's Christmas, which is my favorite year, which he knows.
Here's a question for you though. How do you feel about being proposed to on, say, birthday, say Christmas, and the engagement ring being a present?
I've always said I'd absolutely hate it, but 3 years in, I don't give a fuck. I'm just like,
I'm still very much against that, but I'm also against joint birthday Christmas presents.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of it, I'll be honest. I would much prefer it to be a separate thing. I would also prefer it to be on a separate occasion, because I absolutely love celebrating, and I want as many anniversaries as we can possibly squeeze into the year. We get engaged, we don't lose our got together anniversary. When we get married, we're gonna have 3 anniversaries. Like, we don't have to like buy each other something or get a card or anything for each of them, but like I would like to just have something. Do you know what I mean? I like to celebrate. It's nice to have like, oh, let's cook a nice meal tonight because it's our anniversary. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what also I feel? You've just reminded me. I feel when we upload this, you need to include a picture of the card that you bought Steve for your
Oh,
anniversary.
yeah, I can do that. Basically asking why he hadn't proposed. But yeah, I think I don't want him to nick one of our occasions because I want to keep that occasion and have another one. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does.
But as I say, like I think Christmas is quite likely, not necessarily Christmas Day, but Christmas time is quite a likely one because he knows that it's like my favorite time. And if we're anywhere with like twinkly lights or anything like that, it's like my like optimum favorite place. If there's a reindeer in the corner, it's even better. You know what I mean? So I think,
what if the reindeer had the ring?
I mean,
like tied onto like one of its antlers or something.
Potentially.
Be like, oh, Lauren, what's that on Rudolph's? What is that on Rudolph's? What are they called? Antler. What is that on Rudolph's?
Would you be annoyed if the proposal was doing something that Ben loves to do? Do you know what I mean? Like if the only, I mean, I don't know Ben's hobbies, so I can only say
Ben's hobby is like Lego.
Okay, but I only say this, like if Steve proposed to me while he was fishing and I'd gone to see him for the day, I think I'd be annoyed.
Yeah, especially if he's going to interrupt new wedding, new marriage sex for his little ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding on his rod. I can't see him taking the moment to savor that proposal with you in case, one of his rods get a little ding-ding-ding.
True. I don't know, I'd just be a bit annoyed, I think, if it was like about him. Do you know what I mean?
But then is it also, flip it on its head a little bit, could it be that he would look at that and be like, I feel so at peace here, this is like one of my most favorite places in the world, I want to share that with Lauren and I want to ask her to be my wife?
I mean, potentially.
How long are you going to leave it before you ask Steve to marry you?
I'm not going to ask him
ever.
I don't think so.
What about if you're like 10 years in and he's not proposed?
We'd be having a serious conversation as to whether we should be together or not.
Would you?
Yeah.
You wouldn't just be like, grab the ball by the horns?
No, I don't think so. He knows that I would marry him tomorrow. So I think it's like, he knows that it is just his decision at this point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like he needs to do that, and he hasn't got like a lot of pressure. I mean, obviously it is always pressure and it's always anxiety, like provoking to an extent and whatever, and you never know what someone's going to say, even though you've had a conversation a million times, because you don't know if someone's going to ask you and you're going to go, actually. But
bad timing, but no.
He does it, like he knows the answer, he knows that I don't want anything big and fancy, so he's not got like this huge thing that he needs to, like, I'd be happy if he did it here. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not a pressurized thing, it's just him thinking of like, this is a good time to do it.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
I don't know, we'll see when it happens. I think he'll wait until after we've had a child. That's the annoying thing, because we're talking a year at least.
Wow. Might do it while you're pregnant.
He won't. We've had this discussion before when I was pregnant.
Oh yeah, of course.
He was like, I won't propose while you're pregnant because everyone will think that's why I've proposed. And I'm like, yeah, but they'll also...
No, Steve, they'll think we've been together for 3 years, we live together, we have a house together.
I don't think that's any different once you've had a child, because say I've got a month-year-old and then we get married, like you propose, then everyone's going to think, oh, it's just because they've just had a baby. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't go away.
Can we just skip back to a month-year-old?
A what?
You just said, if I've got a month-year-old.
You know what I mean. I'm like, what's the problem with that statement?
Is that a thing?
No, I don't think so. A month old.
Month old.
Yeah. Oh, do you have anywhere that you like? Do you have anywhere in mind where you're like, oh, I think he'll do it like this or anything like that, or are you completely?
I've given up thinking about it now, to be honest with you. It's been so long.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm a bit like, will he ever do it? I keep saying I'm going to do it to him. Oh, when did I say to you? It's a leap year, isn't it? That a woman. But this is another thing. Why is it such a thing for the guy to propose, do you reckon?
because otherwise we'll have all been married 10 times.
Do you reckon?
I would have proposed wrongly. I think I would have proposed a couple of times already. Out of like, let's fix this, that kind of like situation.
Yeah.
But I think I would have done it.
Yeah. Well, I would propose to him, but he is quite adamant that he wants to be the one to propose.
I think Steve would as well. I don't think he'd want me to do it.
No. But
you've got another 2 years till then anyway, though, if you were going to do it that day.
I know. It's the thing is, I'm a bit like, I don't really have any expectations because I don't want to put any more pressure on him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I try not to like think about it too much. I do say things to him like, "Are you gonna propose to me today?" If we do go somewhere nice or do something, or if he's being like, you know, a bit like, ooh, I'm like, "Are you nervous? You're gonna propose to me?" But then I'm a bit like, Gemma, why do you ask that question? Because then what's he going to go? Yes, I am. Now you've ruined it. Thanks.
Yeah, that's the problem. And it's like, would he then if you then said it? I get nervous every time there's like an occasion where I feel like it could happen. I get nervous in all of those situations. I always get nervous around my birthday, around Christmas. If we're like out together for something, I don't know. I get nervous in like those situations.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, is it gonna, like, the only way, where did we go? Oh, when it would have been when we went away for my birthday. The only reason I relaxed is because I checked everything before we left and I knew we didn't have anything with him. But otherwise I would have been like super on edge the entire time we were gone.
Just to throw a bit of a spanner in the works on that one, he could propose to you without a ring and then say to you, we're going to go and get a ring now.
He could, but he knows what size I am. There's no reason for that.
Yeah, but he might want to pick your own ring.
He might, but he knows what I want. My mum knows what I want. Like, there's no need.
Do you want to tell us what you've been up to? Because I'm dying to know about the next hobby.
Do you know, weirdly, it's very along the same lines as last week in that it's like an arty one that I've got for you this week. And weirdly, it's Christmas related as well, but that's just out of randomness, not out of anything. But because we've just been speaking about Christmas, it's quite funny how that like follows on as well.
Absolutely.
But it's just because I have random Christmas shit lying around my house. So,
are you an elf?
Do you know, I might be.
Yeah, make a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, this last week I have been doing so random. I'm not even sure it classes as a hobby.
Go for it.
I've been doing I was like, I wonder, you know, like in lockdown, Steve he got really annoyed and like threw them out a window. Not literally, but like pretty much did. They went in the bin. He bought like, you know, those like aeroplanes you can buy that you like paint because you're like,
oh, they're called Airfix.
Yeah.
Airfix, is that it? Yeah.
By the way, you have to be like a good like adult age to actually even hold them because they're so fiddly. So he like was using them or whatever. And I was like, I like painting. I was like, I want to paint something. And I was like, maybe I'll paint something that's not flat because I normally paint like, I do paint, I've painted like for years, but I paint like canvas type situation. But anyway, then I found this little wooden fella and I was like, I'm going to paint him. So I painted a little nutcracker, a little nutcracker man. And he's like, although I didn't realise that this is his mouth.
Oh.
Because look, do you know what I mean? I think that's supposed to be his mouth. So he like opens his mouth.
Why is his mouth in his tummy?
No, it's because he's a nutcracker, isn't it? So traditionally you'd literally put a nut in and it would crack it.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't realise that, so I painted it green. But anyway, I painted a model, which by the way, incredibly difficult.
I bet, it looks it.
Because really fiddly and trying to like paint in between his legs and stuff. Really hard and awkward for both of us. So yeah, this was me this week. I painted.
So how would we rate the painting a nutcracker on the scale of, you know, satisfying you from a hobby? How relaxing was it?
It was quite relaxing, but I will also say it was quite annoying.
Okay,
because
so
it was
not one for the box to keep. We don't want to keep that hobby going on.
I don't think so. It was frustrating and like the bottom of his like stick thing, like it's got black on the inside because it's so close to his boot, and it's like, do you know what I mean? It was really like fiddly to get it perfect, and I'm such a perfectionist that it like annoyed me. I would say it annoyed me. So I don't think I'm going to be starting like painting anything more intricate. And I mean, this is obviously pretty basic. It's from Tiger, like it's not, you know.
Well, it's still, you know, still good. So you give it a go.
I think this is the end of my painting 3D object phase. That's my hobby this week. Painting Christmas. 3D objects.
Of a Christmas variety. Okay. Well, we were actually also talking, weren't we, about perhaps if any listeners would like to suggest a hobby for you to try.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell the good people of the podcast how they can do that?
There's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can message us on Instagram at oops we overshared again. Nearly forgot the name of the podcast then again. We're working on it. So you can DM us either a voice note. If you send us a voice note, we might play it, by the way, or just send us a message. Or we also have an app called Zello, which again, you can send us longer voice notes if you want to send us anything in, but suggestions, anything about anything, to be fair, you can send us. But yeah, I'd love some suggestions because I've still got quite a few to do. Anything be as like out of the box as you want, because I can ignore it if I don't want to do it.
And I will be looking at them and she can't ignore it if it's funny.
Yeah.
But also share, you know, if you have any funny stories about getting proposed to or proposing to somebody, or any tips for how we can get Ben and Steve to hurry up and propose to us.
I want to know, did any of you, in the nicest possible way, coerce your partner into proposing? And how did you do it?
Tell us your secrets.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well,
so up for that.
That's great. So yeah, that is how you can contact us, and we hope that you have enjoyed listening to us.
It's been quite deep chats today, isn't it?
It has, but it's been good.
It has. We're very dimensional, aren't we? Multi-dimensional.
Apparently so. Who knew? Well, we hope that you have a lovely day or evening or whatever you're doing.
Indeed. And yeah, we'll talk to you next time. Bye, everyone.
See you later.